Today is still Sunday, November 6th. I was at church today, and after the church, a very kind Catholic, a devoted Christian, quietly asked me while I was singing at the end of the Mass. We usually sing as the procession exits with Father Dot and the deacon exits to greet the individuals to home. And one of the announcements was that there was a breakfast that's served by the Knights of Columbus. And an individual who essentially saved my life in 2019 calmly walked over and says, "Hey, I would like to buy you breakfast." I said, "Sure." So I had breakfast. And I have to say that the breakfast was delicious. I was afraid that I would miss the pancakes because all the flapjacks were gone when I was standing in line. Fortunately, I said, as I was about to move after I picked up my ham, the flapjacks flew in and started to pile on to the pan that was there. And I said, and I proclaimed, perfect timing. It's a perfect timing for the pancakes, the flapjacks, so I took two. I ate it, and I thought to myself as I sit right now, it's perfect timing. It's time. It's time to pay back all my restitutions. It's time to pay back my lawyer, civil lawyer. It probably cost me about $40,000 to defend myself in civil court. But the judge just threw everything out and took everything before we went to trial, so we didn't get anything. And then the criminal trial started. So essentially I spent $40,000 in a civil case, which ended up doing nothing. And then it ended up in criminal court, where now I am suffering the consequences of my innocence. That's right, suffering the consequences of being innocent. So I look forward to another 8 years of this life now. And then a few days ago, last week, I wrote a statement in Facebook stating that God is mysterious, and He certainly is. And I would not have had time to spend sleeping 3 or 4 hours a day for the past year and then messing up the orders at Westside Drive-In. Usually what happens is that when I lack sleep, I get very emotional. And emotional means that I lose everything in day trading. And it occurred to me recently that I've been getting enough sleep, and that's allowed me to be more calm and peaceful. However, it'll just turn around if I drink some coffee. Caffeine does that. Originally, when coffee was introduced to humanity, there were some sheep that was grazing underneath a coffee bean tree, and after they munched on it, they became irritated and agitated, and they were like bug-eyed, and that's when humanity discovered caffeine, and caffeine does that to me. And that kind of combination does not suit me very well. I'm sure a little bit of caffeine is good. So where am I going with this? I would say that I was going to send an email to my Catholic deacon, who was kind enough to save my life in 2021. There are a lot of people who have saved my life. Um, yeah, that I'm so fortunate to be here in Boise, Idaho, where I consider it my home. Right now, I live in a little room, uh, and uh, and and one day things will happen. So, what I was about to say is that maybe it's time. It's time. It's time. Am I premature in making the statement? Probably am, because trading is not that easy. It's very complex. It's not an easy thing. And every day I have to study. I have to put in my time, and I have to take care of myself, and so I've been thinking about I've been thinking about my two children. Okay, I've been thinking about my two children who I'm not sure what it is. I think it's due to money. Okay, I think it's due to money. I think that's why they've cut ties with me. Um, I think that's what it is. Many years ago, in 2016, I bought a house, and then the whole purpose was for my ex-wife and two kids to go to their high school and go to college, and they can live there and do whatever they want. That's what they did. Eventually, that's what happened. And I was going through a civil and a criminal court all through 2020 and 2021, and um, and unfortunately, felony is not something that corporations and reputable companies want as an employee, because they could get thousands and thousands of engineers who does not have that particular background. They don't have that personal history. And so essentially what I agreed to in 2020 is essentially just a life-ending career move, essentially agreeing to something that when I was, there was no way around the situation because of the animosity that my two siblings had on me. And so it can get it can get messy, but it is a very short story. But we can leave it at there, because there's nothing I can do to change another human being who's already committed to doing something because they felt that they have been wronged, and they are willing to destroy the life of someone, even their own family, because they felt they were wronged. And I think what's happening is that now that's the other part. Now, the why am I keep doing this? Because it impacts me every day, because I'm human. I can't get over it. So, but I need to understand why my own children would do that. I would think, because I'm thinking to myself, here I am. I moved here, and I moved into a homeless shelter, and I'm living there, and I'm attempting to communicate with them, but I'm thinking I believe what they believe was that I was attempting to, I believe this all boils down to money. Okay. So I believe even before I got here, they had plans with their mom to sell the house and move out of state. But they were too afraid to tell me what their plan was, because essentially I'm homeless, without a job, and essentially I have been struggling to essentially, I'll tell you what, after the divorce, it was tough. So essentially, their plans did not include me in their life, and so I believe what happened was that they believed that I would somehow interfere in their plan, and their original plan was to leave And essentially that's what they did. They left Boise without telling me where they are, or and also essentially uh, cutting the phone contact with me. And they did that because they were afraid that I would be after their money. I believe that's what they're thinking, because essentially what I did was I bought the house. When I got fired from Micron, I took all the money that I had and I gave it to their mom so they pay it down, and then so that they could have a lower mortgage, or they could finish their mortgage faster. And then they thought that because I gave the house to them, that I would somehow. I believe this is what's going on, because it seems like money seems to be the root of all evil. So so I believe they left thinking that I would be asking them for money of some sort of the proceeds that they received, because essentially when I bought the house and paid it down and gave it to them, I mean, essentially it was, back then the house prices were extremely cheap. And when they sold 6 months ago, the house prices was probably at the height. And so essentially they've either doubled or 2.5, whatever the gain was of the original house price. And so they feared that I would somehow be interfering with the money that I had. And so money's the root of all evil. And what happens is that because of that reasoning and their thinking that I would be after their money, they decided to cut ties with their own father because money was so important to them. Now, money is very important. If you, it's yeah. Who would want to live in a homeless shelter for a year? Nobody does. People who have not been in the homeless shelter would not want to be in it, and I can see why they would do that. I've been asking God why they would do that. Why would these they have 50% of my genetic makeup? Why would they do that? And I thought to myself, why would they keep doing? Why would they do that? Why would they remove ties when I cannot fathom what is going on? And it seems to me that their value of money has a higher precedence in their lives than the relationship that is between the father and children. And so I have an email that I don't know if she ever uses it, but the ex-wife's email, I sent an email today. I'm asking, hey, I wish to know why our kids stopped communicating with me. Why did they do that? And hopefully God will let me know, and let's figure it out. Have I done something? Have I done something to alter it? Is it because I have been struggling with jobs and taking care of the other side of the family, which they felt that I was um, interfering with their progress in life? Is that what it is? Am I impeding their life? Is my name is my name interfering with their future plans? Right? Is it the way that I live my life? Is it too naive? Is it something that me going to church, and despite the fact that I'm an extreme introvert, I go to church and attempt to communicate with others, and I know that I do not have practice. I am not good at talking with people, because I'm usually just studying and inventing and doing these things, and so common speak does not apply to me whatsoever. And so when most people communicate, they know how to communicate, but I don't. I go straight to the point because I need to get that idea straight crossed so that I can move on to do something that I need to do. And I'm sure building rapport is a fundamentally important thing. However, what I like to do is to develop so that I can pick up myself. And I can't explain that to everybody. I cannot explain to people that's the path that I'm taking. And most people don't understand it. So I asked God. And so how is that related to day trading? It really doesn't apply to day trading. This is my channel. I just thought I'd record this. I'd record this, and but it looks like if I were to just close this up, round it up, is that my trading seems to be turning around, even though the market's been dropping seriously. I am able to offset some of the losses and even making the day green, and so another part is there is a 4x4 extended cab 2001 Silverado that I bought many years ago, and it's parked. It's parked somewhere. And when the time of COVID hit, my children sent me a text saying, "Hey, could we pick that up and use it?" Because apparently, at this time, apparently the public transportation was difficult to do, like taking the bus. And both of my kids had cars, but my ex-wife did not. And so maybe my son was going to drive that truck, and then maybe she would drive his car. But at that time, I was going through legal situations where, even though I had the title of that truck, there was no way to take it off that lot. It wasn't possible. So at this point, to make this short story very long, is that I mentioned this, that maybe I'm living in a parallel life as of Job, essentially. My eyesight is gone, right? Nowhere near compared to Job. My whole family's gone. My own children are gone. My whole finances are gone. My life for the next 8 years, essentially, it's a death sentence, essentially, because I'll be 61 years old. And there's no way for me to go back to any industry at that time. Even if they were to say, what is it called? They call it withheld judgment, right? Withheld judgment. I thought that was something special, right? I thought the judge asked me this question: "Do you know what you're doing?" I said, "I think so." Little did I know that you can't get a job. You can't even get an apartment. Okay, you can't, and it'll continue for the next. So essentially, it was 10 years. So it's going to be the next 8 years. The next 8 years will be like this, and so it's going to be like this for the next 8 years. Essentially, not being able to do essentially anything, and I have to pay someone. I have to pay someone to supervise me monthly. Okay, so these guys have like 8 or 10 individuals that they supervise, and each individual pay that person $60 a month to supervise. So we're talking about 6 to 10 people. That's roughly about $500 a month that they're bringing in extra income to supervise. So I'm thinking to myself, all the money. Essentially, it's a when they, and the person says something like withheld judgment. My lawyer sold me on that. He said, "Oh, but it's withheld judgment, okay? It's withheld judgment." He says to me, my criminal attorney tells me this. He says it's a withheld judgment, okay? So he knows what's going on. I have no idea what's going on. I don't know anything about law. I don't know anything about living the life of a felon, right? I had no idea that I could never, ever get a job, ever, as an engineer. I never realized that I would ever be able to go into an apartment, okay? And getting a job anywhere, even as a custodian, would be virtually impossible. It's because of that record. Okay, and the judge is asking me, "Do you know what you're doing?" And I'm saying to myself, I'm thinking to myself, it's quite interesting to me that you're asking me that question, right? You're asking me this question during the COVID time, and essentially they made this judgment they made the prosecution's um, the prosecution's threat was so frightening. Okay, the prosecution says, I'm going to go after you for 50 years in prison. He says to me, I'm going to get you for 50 years. That is a life-threatening. See, I'm already 50 years old, and he's saying, okay, I'm going to be spending another 50 years. I'll probably be done, dead, before my sentence is over, right? I'm thinking to myself, that's what I'm thinking. So, and then my lawyer wasn't too helpful about that situation, and is saying, well, this is what you agreed to, okay? Because these two people who hate your guts, who is taking all your money, is accusing you of these, and we believe them because they're more believable than you. Now, so what if you took care of your father to his grave and you had to lose your job because you had to spend all your time taking care of your father? But we don't want to listen to that. We don't believe you, right? It's because there's two people. Two people are more popular, more powerful than you. So I'm thinking to myself, now I'm in this situation with this whole situation evolving around me, and I'm thinking to myself, here's my kids just after I've gone through this. Even my own children, who has 50% of my DNA, is doing this to me. I'm thinking, wow, this is wow. I'm thinking to myself, this is truly biblical in nature, right? It must be Job. It must be the parallels of Job. Now, I said to myself today, now what else can I do? What else is there to do? Essentially, there's really nothing else to do except to succeed. I need to succeed. And I pray that nobody stands in my way, right? I know I'm innocent. Okay, those two, I'm gonna recap and end this story. So my mother essentially has just her personal estate is of roughly about $600,000 right now. Okay? Her estate right now, just from her holding, is about $600,000, including the house. Now, she has other assets in South Korea. Okay? Now, these two individuals brought my mother to a civil judge, in front of a civil judge. This is recorded. This is what my lawyer told me about these situations. So apparently they brought my mother to sit in front of the judge and make this statement. My estate will be shared equally. So that's what she said. That's what my mother said to the judge. And the judge, on that statement, took the house that my mother gave me and just closed the case. Okay? And then threw it over to the criminal court, where criminal court prosecuted me to the fullest extent and frightened me with threatened my life with 50 years of prison time. That's what the prosecution was doing. It's very effective for me anyway. I don't know about other people, but it was very, very effective to me. And here I am, I'm innocent, and I had to agree to that. Okay? The judge was asking me, do you know what you're doing? I guess I do. I guess, right? So here's the situation. So essentially, based on her assets, which is approximately $600,000, so if it's split three ways, now my mother has passed, now it's been about 2 months since she passed away. Now, with her assets of $600,000, if those were shared equally, that means there's about $200,000 that need to be divided after her death. Okay? So it's been 2 months and nothing has happened. Okay? That means clearly, nobody's looking at this. Nobody's watching. Nobody's recounting, because people, they don't give a They don't give a rat's butt about what the situation is because they're very happy, because they believed in their mind that they have put away a monster, because these two individuals have created a picture of me into being a monster. And so they felt that they can go home and sleep very well. Even my own attorneys probably believe that way, right? Even though I'm telling you, man, I'm innocent. So here, they're sleeping very well. The judge probably forgot about everything, right? Because they did their job. Oh, what? We put a monster away. We took away something that he's done. And here's the reality. 2 months after my mother's death, right? These two individuals have kept everything, and I'm still holding through the consequences of their wrath, their hate. Whatever their hate was, whatever their rage was, I'm still suffering it, will suffer for the next 8 years. And the attorneys, and I still owe this civil attorney many thousands of dollars because of this particular situation. This is an attorney who drove from Pocatello to Boise, Idaho to meet a court case, even though he had an office here. This is a large law firm that he could have sent anybody to sit, but he clocked the hours that he drove and he billed me for those hours. So I'm thinking to myself, now here's this situation, okay? They painted me into being a monster. And because they felt that way, they felt that they were, if I parallel this to Jesus Christ, okay? I parallel this life as Jesus Christ. They stoned him, they beat him to death, they spit on him, they made him into a monster, okay? Just similar, on a closer note from me to Jesus Christ would be Job. Far from Job, but I'm getting closer to what his situation is going through. So now my own kids are going through the same, it seems to be a same situation. So I said to myself today, I pray nobody blocks the success that I'm working towards. Okay? And I pray that I am physically and mentally capable so that I can move forward into day trading, so that I can prove these individuals wrong. Okay, I wish that God helps me so that I can prove them all wrong. Firstly, their attorney, my siblings' attorneys, she knows what's going on, and I guarantee she knows what's going on. I guarantee that she knows the truth. And because she's a lawyer, she has to do these things despite the fact. And I pray at the least. I pray to God at the least. All right? Nobody blocks me from the path that I'm going towards so that I can make something out of myself. Since society has blocked everything from me. All right? The second part is, I pray to God that I'm physically capable and mentally capable in order to make something out of this situation that has horribly dismantled my life. And one day, I hope my kids, they wanted that Chevy Silverado pickup truck so that they could use it, but before then, they didn't need it. So they didn't take it at that time. And when it was too late, they wanted it. I pray that my kids somehow figures this out before our connection is so severely deteriorated that it cannot be repaired. I hope they wake up to the call, smell the coffee, smell the flowers, whatever it is. I hope one day they know what I'm talking about, and that whatever they thought about the money that is blocking them from connecting with me, to me, money does not matter in this case. And if money is this situation that's causing you two to do whatever you're doing, get rid of it. Money is not that important. I I hope, I hope, I hope they get this message somehow. I hope they do. Yeah, I hope they do.